Hello, hello. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Life Coaching Access, your daily access with professional certified life coaches, brought to you by Life Coach Philippines. Life Coach Philippines is our community of professional life coaches certified by the Global Institute for Coaches and Entrepreneurs, a bona fide institute for the mental health that is based in Dallas, Texas, USA. Life Coaching Access is our service to the community, and we aim to help individuals experience the process of transformation through the platform of life coaching. If you want to know more about our international coaching classes and services, please connect with Coach Razel through 0917-586-1661 for assistance. By the way, I'm Coach Tony for En route to Forgiveness. Moving on begins with a mind shift, and your access with me is every Sunday at 2 p.m. All right. So for my segment today, I will be sharing episode one, is uh, ac- uh, which is admittance. Please tag your friends in the comments below and invite them to join our conversation. You may also share this FB Live to your timeline and FB groups and pages so that we can reach more people and help transform lives. All right. So, everyone, good afternoon. Again, I'm Coach Tony, and today I'll be giving you the En route to Forgiveness. Moving on begins with the mind shift. I'd also like to add to that we would like to invite you to the mental health certification program. This will be done for 3 days on December's 5, 6, and 12. And if you want more information, please contact Coach Roselle or go to www.globalcoachentrepreneur.org. All right. So I'd like to begin by saying hi. I'm Coach Tony. My specialty rather is for millennials and younger people in the workforce and relationships. So as a life coach, I don't give advice, and I'm also not a guru. I wait. My my coaching style revolves in change and helping others, in giving out giving change for others and ourselves. So before I begin, how many of you, just a quick note to ask, how many of you have experienced self-hatred, or how many has experienced this self-depreciating emotion that we all feel? I So if you feel this way, then I welcome you to my lesson here. All right. So the transformational mindset involves four things: admittance, discovering of the self, goals, and accountability. So my main objective for today would be to help you navigate through a tough transition and help you get your roadmap so that you can get to your finish line. In short, I'm able to, hopefully at the end of the day, help you to forgive yourself so that you can forgive others, because we cannot give what we don't have. And in order to forgive others, we have to forgive ourselves also. Okay. So hold on. Is everyone ready? All right, cool. So let's begin with the transformational mindset. So before I give the definition of what a transformational mindset involves, rather, I would like to begin by saying where I'm coming from, or where this topic originally came from. Um, it's about So basically, if you've ever admitted to someone, uh, if you've ever admitted to someone, you feel that you must go through different processes, and sometimes it's best to also talk to different people. I personally have an experience wherein I admitted something to someone, and it felt light, and sometimes it felt awkward. I've also talked to some of my friends and some of my colleagues, and they also admitted something to someone as well. And overall, it's the journey that I came across with learning from different people. It's uh, best that I'm able to share my experiences and the experiences of others. And yeah. So going back, the transformational mindset involves admittance, discovering of the self, goals, and accountability. And for today, the first thing we have to do is to admit to something. So when we say admit, what do you mean by that? Well, Merriam-Webster, my favorite book, usually has four definitions. It's to allow, it's to allow scope for, it's to permit to something, it is to concede as true or valid, or it is to allow entry. What is common between all four of these definitions is that we have we have to allow ourselves to be open about something or someone. Let's say we've all had at one time or another that you wanted to change something about yourself or how you see yourself about others. Sometimes it's best to open up with other people, right? All right. So, what are some easy things that we can all admit to? Well, sometimes it can be as easy as saying your name. Sometimes it's the favorite food that we eat. And sometimes it's the hobbies that we all have. Maybe it can be our likes and dislikes as well. Maybe you at home can think of some other things that I haven't Hello? Hello? Can everyone hear me? Hello? Hello, everyone? Can everyone hear me? All right, great. Thanks, Coach Ed. All right, so let me try to transition again to the PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully this will work. Hello, Coach. So can everyone hear me? All right, sorry for the technical difficulties. All right, so going back to the definition of admittance. So we have four definitions here. Uh, to allow scope for, permit, to concede as true or valid, and to allow entry. So the commonalities between all of this is basically being open to other people, allowing them to see who you are as you are with them. All right. So let's move on to asking ourselves what's something easy to admit. Hopefully I don't. Hopefully I was able to. I didn't get cut off here, but just to reiterate, can I ask anyone from the comment section if you can type down here what's something that can be easily that you can easily admit to anyone or yourself really or when you talk to yourself in the mirror. For me, while I wait for everyone's reply, for me it can be as simple as a name. So whenever I meet new people, I always say that I'm Tony or Anthony, or depending on who the people I meet. Sometimes I mess around and say Anthony Gerard or Gerard Anthony. It can also be my favorite food. So recently I've had uh, pork chop, which is it was a good lunch for me. One of my favorite foods is a hamburger, pizza, and anything in between. Feelings, Coach Rizal. Really? Okay. Very interesting. Your age, Pauline. Okay. Okay. How about hobbies? I'm pretty sure everyone can share their hobbies more easily, correct? So you can say, oh, I love watching K-dramas, or I love watching video games. I love to cook. I love to watch movies and all. Music also as well. Things that are positive about you. Very much coached in. So if you feel like if you feel like that something is good for you, then you want to share it to the world, correct? And that's very good. So I want everyone to keep that at the back of your mind. And now we'd like to move on to a very difficult question I'd like to ask. Um, so what is now something that is difficult to admit? So as we previously mentioned, we had something that we can easily tell others or tell ourselves what we want and or like, right? So what's very difficult to admit to ourselves or to admit to others? Lies. well, lies is very difficult to say to another person. I'd like to start with insecurities. I'm pretty sure we all have insecurities. We don't want to we are not very open to what we feel deep down inside, right? We feel that if we share our insecurities, we'd be judged, we'd be ridiculed, we'd be mocked a bit, and we feel that it's not something that can be easily told to others. I believe Miss Pauline's mentioned secrets, and yeah, secrets is another thing. Secrets that we aren't able to open up because they are something that's deep within us. There's something that not everyone can share, and you can only share with a few trusted people. Another thing that it's very difficult to admit is any problems with your relationships. So sometimes it can be difficult for that significant other that you have that to admit that you have a problem with the relationship that you're feeling. Sometimes it's also very difficult to admit if you have any relationship issues with your parents or your friends, because you don't want to hurt them, right? And you don't want to share that pain that you feel with others because it makes you feel uncomfortable, right? Yeah, yes, Coach Tim, fake it till you make it. All right. And another thing I'd like to share is problems caused by your own doing. So an example of this is, for example, you crash your car into something, and you don't want to tell your, let's say, your friends or your significant other that you crashed the car because you did it, correct? Or something like lies. You don't want to lie to someone, or you don't want to lie to yourself, but it's basically kind of like a defense mechanism wherein you try to hide the thing that you that you're trying to not say, right? Another thing that's very difficult to admit for other people, or for a lot of people, or most of us, would be addiction. So whether you're addicted to smoking or alcohol or something that's not good for you, or not sometimes, most of the time, it's very difficult to say that you are addicted to something. And Coach Ed, you mentioned that most of the time, yes, for we choose what we concern ourselves with. A problem is a situation that we acknowledge to be negatively different. I agree, Coach Ed. Um, it's very difficult to say something that's negative because it's something that we are very much uncomfortable with. So, what all of these have in common is that it's very, very, how should I say this? It's very difficult to open ourselves up to these, to these negative things that we feel, and that's that's why we need to have the strength to admit to something. We need to have the strength to admit to something. So one of the common reasons that why we have a hard time admitting something to other people or to ourselves is the is a term used in psychology called cognitive dissonance. Uh, from my own little research, cognitive dissonance is something against our own core or personal beliefs, or something negative about yourself that you don't see but others can. So yes, Coach Tin, it is very hard to admit when you're wrong. And sometimes when you look at yourself in the mirror, parang sinasabi mo, parang wala akong ginawa good, parang wala akong maling ginawa dito ha, but galit sila sa akin. Or I'm doing something right. Like for example, Robin Hood. Or for example, the image here. Think Robin Hood. He steals from the rich and gives to the poor. In his mind, he thinks it's right to steal to give to the poor because he's helping the poor. But in the eyes of most people, it would be wrong to steal because that's a basic law. Because you don't want to be stolen from, right? Another reason why it's difficult for us to admit to something is the fear of guilt. The fear that you will be judged and the fear of not being liked can lead us to feel guilty in all sorts of ways. I have a friend who has a very tough time coming out to her parents, and she feels that if she comes out, that she would be felt ashamed of, or her parents would make her feel shameful and guilty that she has that orientation towards herself. Another one would be, let's go back to insecurities. We feel insecure about why why we why we feel the way we do, or why when we try to admit something, it's very it's very tough to say, or very tough to say to yourself or to others. It all boils down to the vulnerability aspect of ourselves. We don't show our vulnerabilities because we only show that to a very small group of people or just ourselves. And I believe everyone can agree that being vulnerable is not something we like, right? Yes. Hi. Yes. So it takes a lot of courage to admit to something, and that's why the strength you need to share what you need to share is a skill, or is a strength that that very few people have. But I hope at the end of this access with me, at the very least, I can help you along the way. So overall, it is painful to admit to something that is very difficult to share. It's not something that everyone is willing to do, but it's something that we have to do. So the question I'd like to ask now is, how do we admit to something? Go on. I want everyone in the comments to write what is something, or how do you think we have to admit, how do you think we can admit to something, given given all of the tough things that we don't want to admit? How do you admit to something to someone or yourself? Well, while we wait for everyone to say something or to put into the comments as to what you think we can share or how to admit to something, I'd like to start with two things. When someone mentions to you the the blind spot that you have, it's very difficult to share it with other people, correct? And maybe, and as we mentioned earlier with the cognitive dissonance, it's hard to admit that that you have that specific blind spot. And another thing would be if you know that something is truly bothering you, but you either ignore it or push it to the back of your mind. From a personal experience, I've had some problems that I kept at the back of my mind due to work, and I tried to mainly push it back because for me at the time, work came first, and I would deal with the problem later. But eventually down the line, it it grew and it festered into something not good, and it affected some of my relationships with others. All right. Oh, sorry. So the takeaway here is that we have to admit to our blind spots, even if you don't see them. The admittance that we have our blind spots, and even if we don't see them, we really have to take the strength, and we have to be open about seeing our own blind spots. It's Yes, Coach Ed. It's a bit easier to admit to someone rather than yourself. Mm, it is because you have someone to talk to, and mainly you are able to express it more with others. Sometimes it's also very difficult to share those insecurities about yourself, and I believe everyone here can agree that we all feel that way. So knowing what it is that's bothering you is the first step to everything. We have to know what's bothering us, or what is the thing that's really in the back of your head that's nagging you, is the first step towards admitting that you have something. So for example, when you are addicted to saving money because you initially thought that you'd be richer or you would have more money, when in fact you have some people might find that you're being selfish, and though you may not see that you're selfish, you because you think that that you're saving money for yourself, it may come off as something that's not good or not great. So always have an open mind when it comes to these things. Allowing yourself to be vulnerable to yourself is also important. You have to treat yourselves as if you are talking to someone that you love. So also one of the very important steps is to admit to yourself that you have to be vulnerable. You have to share the thing that is bothering you. You have to admit. You have to admit, and you have to have that strength to admit to something. In short, you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. You should not build up walls with yourself or with others. Because the more you build your walls, the more it will be tough to say what you really want to say. It will be tougher to give out or to share what's in your mind, what's in your heart, and everyone else what everyone else may want to know about you. So I'd like to leave with how to get there, or what is the roadmap to get to that level of vulnerability. And I think the best way we can start is talk to someone that you trust. It can be someone, it can be your best friend, it can be your very close relative, it can be someone that you feel that you can trust 100% to, someone who you don't feel the need to hold that wall in front of them, someone you can talk all your all your tough days, all of the bad things that occur to you, and someone you're very comfortable with. I'm pretty sure all of us may know someone like that, or if not, maybe look in the mirror and maybe you can trust yourself, because you are your own person. You are the person you talk to most of the time, I believe. Yes, crumble the walls that divide us. We have to be able to we have to be able to not guard ourselves when it comes to admitting someone something. Oops, I'm sorry. And one of the key things that we should be able to do is be vulnerable. Vulnerability is key to admitting something. And if you've noticed, I've mentioned vulnerability a lot because being vulnerable allows us to share what we want to share. So once you admit something, you will feel lighter and allow yourself that vulnerability. Once you take that leap of faith, once you take that time to be able to give what you want to give or say what you want to say. Let's say, for example, you like someone, or you really don't like the way that that person does something. Be vulnerable. Share that feeling to someone. Make sure that at the end of the day, this is you you're talking about. You are the person, you are your own judgment of character. You are your own person that can share what needs to be shared. Because as we mentioned earlier, everyone has their own blind spots, and not a lot of people can admit to that or know their own blind spots. So sometimes it's best to share that blind spot with others. Maybe they'll thank you for it. Maybe they'll hate you for it. We'll never know unless we say it, correct? All right. So this will be it for now. As we end today's episode, let me invite you to visit our coaching club, the Cup Coffee Republic, located at Pioneer Center PC compound along Pioneer Road, corner Brixton, and United Streets, Capitolio, Pasig City, just across by Nian Center. Our coaching hub is open physically from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. only, but virtual operations is 24/7, and we offer coaching services on demand any time of the day, any day of the week as well. Please connect with Coach Roselle through 0917-586-1661 for your coaching needs. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll hope to see you next week, same day, same time. All right. So we got 3 more to go before we change our minds. All right. Love, bum, boom. Bye, guys.